Hi, good evening, and welcome to episode 25 of our Eagles Nesting series, where we all look back at some of the most historic games through the club's history, and so many wins and so many great games. Thank you for all of your comments so far. Glad you've been enjoying the series. We've got a very special episode tonight as we look back at that game that won us the third clean sweep in the club's history. It was a big game. The first time the BBL Play-Offs Final had been at the O2 in front of almost 15,000 people. What a game it was against the London Lions in this game. Of course, a win for our Eagles, getting us that clean sweep. And joining us on the Nest In tonight, I want to welcome three guests, two players, and our team manager from that season. First of all, welcome back to Nest In, Drew Lasker.
What's up, Dan? Thanks for having me on again.
Great to have you. Thanks very much, Drew. I also want to welcome on Eric Wilson, our team manager from this season and for many seasons and many of those wins before. Welcome, Eric.
Hi, Dan. Thanks for inviting me.
And finally, after we saw at the trophy final, which of course is the last game of basketball in this 2020 year, the 1920 season, he achieved what no other player has done, setting a huge record as the most decorated BBL player with 25 trophy wins to his name after, I think it's 16 or 17 seasons as an Eagle. Welcome, Darius Defoe.
What are you telling me, though? Hey, Dan, man, you took your time to get me on.
Well, I've been trying to get hold of you, man. It's great to talk to you, and great to finally get you on. I think we got the tech all to work. First, I'll start with you, Dee. Now we've managed to chat to you. How are you? How are things going in lockdown? And how's everything going with you?
Everything's fine, you know. You can't really complain, you know. It's lockdown. You have to listen to the rules. You have to obey the rules. So, you know, there's nothing that we can do. Just stay indoors and I hope everyone is safe.
Eric, it's been great to, well, first of all, just chat to you while we've been talking between episodes, but get you onto this episode tonight. We've already looked back at so many wins for our Eagles. I went through Dee's credentials. What season was it that you actually started with the team, Eric?
First season as team manager was when we won the first trophy, so I've got all the medals Dee's got.
Oh, right. Okay, so it's exactly the same year. Wow. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's the same.
That's a huge list of accolades. I mean, what a journey you guys have been on. I mean, Eric, if you think back to that first season when you know when we first started picking up trophies, what did it feel like being a part of that team and the turnaround for the club?
I think it was strange in a way because I'd been a fan for 3 or 4 years previously and sort of watching from afar and then being involved so closely with the guys and obviously seeing how much it meant to people. I mean, particularly Fab when we were down Brighton after the game. I mean, to see him dancing in the street and considering he doesn't drink, you know, that the emotional high that he was on and how much it meant to him. And obviously Paul and Sam and other people in the background that have been doing so much without us getting any trophies as rewards, even though Hoops for Health and things were moving along and growing. It was just nice to get that first trophy in the cabinet.
I mean, Eric, so you mentioned Hoops for Health, just to make it clear for everyone who perhaps might not know, as well as being our team manager, you're also a trustee of our foundation and have been for some time. And what is it exactly that comes into your role as team manager and also as a trustee of the foundation, just to explain for our fans who perhaps may have seen you at courtside but don't know what it is that's involved in that for you?
Team manager role is looking after kit liaison with yourself, beginning of the season, kit sizes, sorting the kit out. I wash the kit after every game. I arrange the travel, hotels if we're stopping over, just things to make life easier for the coaching staff so they can get on with what they're doing and they don't have to worry about admin things. I mean, as Dee and Drew will probably tell you, I could tell you a decent Chinese in every place that we play basketball.
I'm sick of Chinese, man. I'm sick of
Hey, I second that. Hey, I don't eat Chinese no more.
And it's just little things like that, though, making sure everybody, the lads are happy where they want to eat, what we're going to do, if we're stopping over, or we're somewhere close that we can eat, and just make everything as simple as possible so there's no disruption and they can just get on with the day-to-day things and concentrate on the game. Trustee-wise, it's just giving Paul and Sam support along with other trustees for day-to-day things concerning the foundation. Obviously, got a lot more involved in the last couple of years with opening our own arena. There's a lot more involvement, whereas previously it was just picking up things as and when required. But that certainly meant a lot more involvement, and it will continue to do so, especially as we come out of lockdown facing the problems that this is going to bring.
Well, I know that anyone who's been involved in the foundation, whether it's CVL players and everyone else, hugely appreciates everything that you do, Eric, and also courtside supporting the guys as well. We've come to an amazing moment for the club looking back at this season when we did that third clean sweep. And I mean, I remember this game in particular, along with a lot of other fans, being in the crowd at the O2. I mean, Drew, it was a big game, not only for the club and for you guys as a team, but for the league to have really stepped it up by stepping into a venue like the O2 for this final, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We knew what was at stake playing in that arena, and we wanted to make sure that first we put on a great advert for the league because we knew we were representing the league, and so we had that. And then on the other hand of it, we had the weight of trying to finish the job. Obviously, we had already had 3 trophies in the cabinet, and that season was pretty much clean sweep or bust. So the amount of pressure that we dealt with as a team all year was high, and so it was great to not only put on a good advert for the league, having London in there was great as well, representing the league, but to come out with the win was even sweeter.
We had Andre Jones in the last episode, D, and I know that he was someone who came in and just played one season with our Eagles, but for you having been around for all of those trophy wins, what did this season feel like if you cast your mind back, being around this team and how you gelled, because obviously it worked on court?
Yeah, it did. The closer we was off court, the better it was on the court. So I thought, being so close together, we didn't really thought about the clean sweep at that point. We just wanted to play basketball as a team and be there for each other.
I think that it seems like the theme that a lot of the guys have said was that, that you weren't looking at doing a clean sweep from game to game as you get through to that point, but going into this final at the O2D, I mean, it was about the clean sweep. Did you feel like extra pressure? Did you feel like, this is a really monumental game?
Yeah, of course you're gonna feel the pressure. Being the final was in London, playing against London. So apart from our fans, the whole arena was against us anyway. So there's gonna be pressure, but we didn't let it get to us. We just went out there and played like it's just another game.
In the game, Drew, if you can remember back, the London Lions take an early lead in the game, and you Drew, I think coming off the bench, leveled the game, and it was an exciting game of basketball for the fans to watch, but a very tough one, a very tight one against a very strong London team in this season. Yeah,
they were. I believe that year they had Drew Sullivan on the team. I think the point guard was who was the point guard? It was
Zaire.
Yeah, it was Zaire Taylor was the point guard. So I mean, they had a squad, and I remember that game. We started off really slow, and I came off the bench and just kind of brought energy. I think for me, I had really that year got comfortable with my role as a 6th man and coming off the bench and the experience. But yeah, that's when I had I had got comfortable with coming off the bench, and that was just my job, was just to kind of read the game and kind of figure out what I need to bring. And I kind of felt like that particular game, we just needed energy. So I just kind of brought in energy. The guys kind of fed off of it, and then we just kept climbing from there.
Our third clean sweep season after with 2006 and 2012. Dee, you were there for all of them, as we say. What did it feel like getting to the end of this game, the end of a season when it's been such a huge achievement, lots of wins, but also knowing that's it, you've done the clean sweep for the third time. Now you can rest because it's the last game of basketball for the season, and in such an amazing arena like that. What did it feel like lifting that trophy?
It felt good, knowing it's been a long season. Long season, knowing you win the last game of the season, no one can really say nothing to you, So for us to winning that game, knowing that we done the clean sweep, we're making us feel like we're top of the world.
Eric, I remember back to the end of season party, which was only a day later on the Monday night, with the broom that someone brought along to the party, and everyone was having a sweep around that. And I think did you break it in half? Was that the end of that?
That's right, Dan. Everybody was dancing with it. Never mind sweeping, and I don't dance. So I thought, well, there's only one way to stop this. And I warned Sam what I was going to do, but I don't think he believed me. So consequently, the clean sweep was broken.
I think by then a couple of the celebration beverages had kicked in. So Eric was feeling a little bit extra strong.
Well, why not? It's
why not?
But I mean, again, when you look back, with our Lasker, trying to get to where we are at this moment, nobody's even been close to getting one clean sweep, never mind three. So the achievement of doing it three times, is just absolutely fantastic.
Dee, at the end of this, the current season, the season just finished 2020, with that trophy final win, just to talk very briefly about that game. I mean, it must have felt like an amazing moment for you there as well. I mean, to have hit a 25 trophy win yourself as a player in the BBL and as an Eagle.
That's a big achievement, having 25 medals for one club, So that's a big achievement, So for winning it, knowing what's going on with at that point of the season, you don't know what's going to happen. So winning it felt fantastic.
If you had a message for all the fans who, as we said, Eric coming from the stand to being a part of it, yourself, Eric, and latterly Drew being a part of this team throughout so many wins, what would you want to say to the fans who, as we know, even at this playoff final at the O2 in London, they were outnumbered versus the London fans or the neutrals who sided with London, but still took an amazing support to this playoff final and continue right up to today?
I would like to say. Oh, go on, E.
Well, I'd just like to say it's not just finals. I think we've got support that travels length and breadth of the country and supports us come thick or thin. A lot of these clubs, you see lots of supporters when they get to the final, but throughout the season, there's very few travel up to Newcastle or whatever. Well, we've got a hardcore who travel length and breadth of the country, and everybody piggybacks our fans through them, introduce more fans to away travel and that, and so the shorter trips we do travel in large numbers, not just for finals, and it's appreciated by everybody, players, backroom staff, everybody. It certainly makes a difference.
Yeah, I would say this. I would echo the same thing as each has said. You know, like I said, you know, a big thank you to all the fans, you know, that ever came all across, you know, the UK, you know, to not just everywhere, you know, to support us, you know, from Newcastle all the way to Plymouth, you know, the Utas and everyone. I would say a big thank you to everyone that keep traveling, and I hope they keep coming.
Well, I'm sure that they will when we can get back to playing some basketball again. Drew, D, E, thank you so much for your time today, for chatting with us as we look back next, coming up in just a moment, the huge playoff final 2015 at the O2 against the London Lions. So I will say goodbye. Thank you very much, Drew Lasker.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
Eric Wilson, team manager.
Goodbye, Dan. Thanks very much.
And Darius Defoe, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having us.
So let's get into the game then, and what a game we've got. Oh, before I go, still time, by the way, to vote for either of these two players as well in our 25 votes as we look for the fan favourite 25 players across all of these amazing years and wins for our Eagles. So much silverware, so many great players. If you want to vote, jump on the website. You can do that now. Voting closes in just over a week's time. So let's get into it then. We are at the O2 in London in front of nearly 15,000 people. It's our Eagles against the London Lions, the 2015 BBL Play-Offs Final. Stay alert, stay safe to control the virus, protect the NHS and social care, and save lives, and enjoy the game.
Welcome to the O2 Arena. It's the biggest day of the BBL season. It's the British Basketball League playoff final. The Newcastle Eagles versus the London Lions. It's a big day, a big crowd here at the O2 Arena. I'm joined by the Leicester Riders coach Rob Paternostro. Rob, this promises to be a cracking game between these two teams.
Well, at the beginning of the season, everybody wanted to be here. And when you walk in here, you can see why. Beautiful arena. I think mid-season, everybody would have expected the Eagles to be there. But the Lions have gotten hot in the playoffs and are playing great basketball right now.
Well, that's been the key. Newcastle, this solid team all the way through. They've won the league, they've won the cup, they've won the trophy. Now they're looking for the clean sweep. The Lions, with the hot hand in the postseason, have managed to find themselves a way to come from their home at the Copper Box down the road here to the O2. Let's take a look at the two-team lineups for today's game, and we'll start with the champions, the Newcastle Eagles. Their player coach Fab Flanoy, injured in the trophy final, will not play. He's out for a few more months yet. But Andre Jones has been given a chance of playing here today. He's also been out injured of recent weeks. But the big thing for this, the MVP, number 10, Charles Smith, man for the big occasion.
Well, Charles Smith has been phenomenal this year. Player of the year in the league. But you have to look back to last weekend. They have some injuries. How about 40 minutes for him Friday? How about 40 minutes for him Sunday? This is a guy who brings it every night, and when the lights are on, always delivers.
5 times a MVP in a big final game, Charles Smith, one man who does deliver. At the other end of the floor, let's have a look at the London Lions and 5 MVPs in big games. Well, Drew Sullivan has done that too, the GB captain, always a man for the big stage. But how about Zaire Taylor? Postseason is Zaire time. He's playing great this year, just as he has in the last 2.
Well, Taylor, during the season, 15 points per game. But in the playoffs, 28 points per game. He's a guy who's won the playoff title 2 years ago. He won the playoff title last year. Now he has a chance to do it 3 in a row.
He would become the first man to win 3 consecutive playoffs with 3 different teams, Zaire Taylor. Drew Sullivan looking to become the first guy to win with 4 different teams. Only the 3rd guy to win it with 4 different teams. But in their way stands the most decorated team in British basketball history. The coach has more winners' medals than any coach in history. the players litter the top echelons of winning medals. They know how to get it done in the British basketball.
Well, they do. When you look at the Eagles this year, you have to look at the scoring. 97 points per game. First in the BBL. And the way they score is they move the basketball around. They pass it from one side of the floor to the other. First in assists at 21 per game. So it's no secret to what they'll try to do. For the Lions, they're going to have to do a good job on defense, no doubt about it. But for me, they're going to have to come up with something offensively. Look for Lavelle Cook off the bench. Only 16 minutes in the last 2 games. He was their leading scorer this season. I think they're going to need some production from him today if they want to get the job done.
There we see Fab still on crutches after that Achilles injuries in the trophy final. What that's meant, and the injuries to Jones as well, and you touched on it a moment ago. Charles Smith, the wily old veteran, started playing more and more minutes. He was the 6th man for this team for much of the season. He leads them in scoring, but what they do have is a guy in the backcourt in Ramon Fletcher, who is just a tremendous point guard, both in getting his team going and in finding the basket himself.
No question about it. Fletcher close to winning the Player of the Year himself. He's a guy that can get to the basket, especially going left. For a small guy, finishes well around the hoop, but I love his leadership and toughness on the floor. He's been a great find for the Eagles this year.
Well, the 2 guards, it promises to be a great matchup. Do you think Zaire Taylor and Ramon Fletcher will go head-to-head? Would you guard them up against each other, or would you look defensively to try and give them a bit of break?
Well, that's interesting because the stopper for the Eagles this year, the 2 stoppers that they've had of Andre Jones, he's battling the hamstring injury. We don't expect him to start. And then Fab Flanoy, he usually comes out on the floor and guards anybody. So I'm interested to see who they will put on Taylor. It's a little concerning sometimes to put your primary ball handler like Fletcher on Taylor. You don't want to wear him out early. So the first few plays of the game, we'll kind of get a feel of what the matchups will be.
And one of the things that you always preach about, I know it's something that these 2 teams do very well, points off turnovers, forcing them to cough up the ball and run it back the other way. 2 of the best teams in the league at doing that.
Well, Newcastle Eagles, for me, are the best by far. When they get in the open floor, especially with Fletcher, they convert. You watch their games, you look at it, you see, yeah, they can score in the half court, but out in the open floor is where they put the big numbers on the board. 118 on Sunday. But the Lions are good as that as well, and nobody better in the open floor at slicing his way to the basket than Zaire Taylor. So the team that takes care of the basketball today better will give themselves a great chance to win.
Well, we've talked about the offensive firepower of the Newcastle Eagles. You can't imagine that London are going to be able to keep them down into the 70s or even low 80s. So London are going to have to find some way of putting up a bigger number than they usually do, get up into the high 80s, maybe even 90s if they're going to win this game.
I agree, and that's where I talked about earlier. What can they get from the bench? Rod Brown coming off the bench, Lavelle Cook coming off the bench. Can they get that production coming off the bench? Newcastle's bench this year has been the best in the BBL. But today, I think the Lions bench is going to have to come to the fore.
And what about the big Nigerian in the middle for London? Oyedeji came in mid-season, wasn't really in shape, has got in shape and has been big in the postseason for them.
Much better shape. In the playoffs, he's played 25 minutes a game. He's inserted into the starting lineup. He's been a monster on the boards. 10 rebounds in 25 minutes a game, 7 points per game. But what you have to look for with him is how he protects the rim. So will Newcastle try to draw him out? I didn't think the last 2 opponents did a good job of that, and he dominated the paint inside.
And of course, he's going up against a London boy, but a Newcastle legend, Darius Defoe, who is a beast inside as well. It promises to be a great matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be a good matchup. A lot of power in there. Defoe with the hand injury, especially, you know, the right hand. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out. Had a good game last Sunday versus Sheffield.
Here we go then, BBL Playoff Final 2015. The ball is up and we are underway. The Newcastle Eagles looking to become the first team in BBL history to complete the clean sweep 3 times, have the first offense of the game. Here's Defoe with a first shot, little short, and Zaire Taylor chases it down. Well, we talk about big game, big atmosphere, big arena. Zaire Taylor will be relishing that. Here's Ikenwin for 3, London on the board.
Well, Ikenwin's definitely improved his 3-point shooting this year, and he hits an early one.
Scott Martin, you talk about Newcastle in the open floor. Even on a made basket, they're quick down court.
Don't celebrate after the made basket. A little celebration, the first hoop. Good job by Newcastle, racing it right back at you.
Here's Oyedeji at the elbow to Stibbins. Zaire Taylor gets free. Sullivan in the corner. Oyedeji, will he go at Defoe? Good defense. Oh, but there's a traveling violation. It was against Ickenwin. Good cut along the baseline, but just didn't get the ball down.
Well, I talked to Coach Forrester before the game, and he talked about wanting to put a lot of bodies in the paint, make it difficult for the Lions to score in the paint, but Ickenwin comes out and hits the three. Maybe that'll open it up a little bit.
Here's Thompson. Thompson, who has won every BBL trophy available to him for 10 competitions, 11 competitions in a row, I think it is, or 10, I lost count. He just keeps winning. Trophy after trophy, did the treble with Mersey, went to France for a couple of years, came back, did the sweep with Newcastle after the treble, and now trying to do the sweep again.
He sure knows how to pick the teams to go play for him, and he has done a great job. Not exactly a huge numbers guy, but talk about having a feel for the game. At 6'9", 6'10", has the ability to stretch the defense from the outside, pass, play good post defense. Andy Thompson, a winner wherever he goes.
Misses the first free throw, though. Second one is good. We're level at 3, just over a minute into the first quarter of the BBL Playoff Final.
And we wondered who would guard who. Yes, Fletcher on Taylor, Taylor on Fletcher.
Oyedeji with Sullivan coming up. He's got a little bit of space, and he makes them pay for 3.
Well, they ran the same play every time down the court. A few different options off that play, and that time Drew used the screen and knocked down the 3.
Drew Sullivan, who will pick up his 100th GB cap in the summer. But again, Newcastle just getting straight to the basket.
But the Lions are going to have to run on Fletcher. Turning on the afterburners.
Stibbins gets it to Taylor. Ickenwin in the corner for 3. Doesn't quite go. Good box out. Finds an easy rebound for Thompson.
I think the Eagles will live with that Ickenwin shot.
Smith open. You've got to find him in transition. He's been doing that for 15 years.
Nice pass from Fletcher, and yes, you have to know where Smith is. Even if he's 4 or 5 feet behind the line, go out there and get him.
Stibbins.
Their first lead of the game.
Sullivan, Martin. Sullivan with the shot. 5 quick points for Drew Sullivan.
Nice pull-up from Drew. Come to play on the big day.
Here they are again, though. Lions just not getting back in transition off their own made baskets.
Yeah, that's uncalled for. And good pass that time from Fletcher leading Defoe.
Sullivan again for 3. Drew Sullivan, 8 points in a row.
Good start from Drew. Shot looks good this year. Good rotation on it, off the dribble, off the catch, any which way he wants to go.
Well, he's had some good matchups against Newcastle Eagles in recent years in big finals, playing for Rob Paternostro at Leicester. He's enjoyed those games against the Eagles.
No doubt about it. And he's a guy that when you're coaching, when he's on the team, on your team and you're coaching, it's an automatic comfort level. He rises to the occasions in the big games, makes the right decision throughout the game.
Fletcher now from behind the arc, off the mark, off left. He had the right length, but not the line on that occasion. Here's Taylor, back out to Ickenwin.
You see all the bodies in the paint trying to stop Taylor.
He finds Sullivan. Sullivan dumps off to Stibbins for 2.
Great pass from Sullivan. 2 guys came to him, the drop off to Stibbins. So not only is Sullivan putting the points on the board, he's also dishing as well.
Here's Martin. Great start for the Lions. We talk about their need to put up a big number. They've got 13 on the board inside 4 minutes. Here's Taylor around the screen. Sullivan again. It's going up for 3. Oh, he's missed one. Thompson. Down to Defoe. Defoe trying to back down Oyedeji. To the turnaround, little short, good box out from Stibbins makes Oyedeji's life easy there on the rebound. Taylor around the high screen, dumps into Oyedeji. Moves on. Sullivan again for 3. Yes! Drew Sullivan lighting it up here at the O2. He has 11 points on the board.
Wow! 16 for the Lions, and Taylor hasn't even scored yet.
Well, Drew Sullivan at the minute is outscoring the Newcastle Eagles on his own. Smith to the fall away. Tough shot, but that's what he does.
Good matchup between him and Sullivan. We've seen that many times in these big games, and that's the shot you have to live with, that fadeaway. But Smith is so good at making shots from all over the court.
Here's Taylor. Around the screen. Gets it. Ikenwin open for 3. He knocks one down. The former Newcastle Eagle hitting a second 3 of the game here.
This is a team that is not a high-scoring team, but already 19 on the board halfway through the first quarter.
Darius Defoe way off the mark. And you just wonder if they've just been caught a little bit by surprise here. The fast start by the London Lions.
Kinwin comes off the floor for Cook, who certainly could put points on the board. As I said, leading scorer for them during the season. Coming off the bench now in the playoffs. Sure, they want to get him going early.
Lions 5 of 7 from the 3-point line already in this game. Here's Cook, who can also shoot them. Not quite. Tipped down by Stibbons, but out of bounds. And Newcastle will get it back.
I like what Taylor's doing out on the floor. He's taking what the defense is giving him, not forcing it, driving, getting in the lane, kicking the ball out, and his guys are coming up big for him now.
Fletcher in no hurry crossing the halfway line. Now he turns on the speed, drives against the big man, doesn't quite roll for him. Cook goes up and grabs that rebound.
And that's been the difference with the Lions, having Oye DJ back there to change shots. That time he changed Fletcher's shot.
Look at the battle between Stibbons and Thompson. Here is Stibbons, gets it out to Cook, steps underneath the challenge, takes the 2, doesn't go. Stibbons there again, he's so good on the offensive glass, keeps that alive. Can Cook keep it in bounds? He can, and he was pushed by Thompson. So London will get that ball back, but that just shows you what Stibbons does. He couldn't get the rebound, but he made sure they still had a chance at it.
Lions look quicker to the basketball right now. Definitely getting to the 50-50 balls. That time, good job by Cook coming all the way to this side of the floor to get them the possession.
Well, unsurprisingly, the Lions fans outnumbering Newcastle here. I think, oh, good steal from Smith. Fletcher will lay it in.
That was the time they trapped Taylor right away, wanted to get it out of his hands. Good job by Smith, who has great hands, great anticipation, and Fletcher in the open floor for 2.
I think many of the neutrals here have picked London. Here's Sullivan again from behind the arc, and he got caught there shooting the 3 by Martin, and that's just one of those things where you go that little bit harder on the challenge because you've seen him make some. Foul means 3 free throws.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and Sullivan has had the open looks, and now he'll go to the free throw line where he's been extremely effective this year. Sullivan on the season, 147 free throws taken, 118 made, 80% from the foul line.
Rod Brown, the veteran point guard, gets into the action. He's had his problems with injuries this season, but just started to come back in the postseason, and the experience as Sullivan misses the first free throw.
One thing, you know, to talk about in this game, the Eagles ending the season had to play meaningful game after meaningful game after meaningful game. The Lions, well, they had a good chance to get Brown healthy, to get Oye DJ healthy, so they were able to come in rested and ready to roll, and that's what you've seen from them. The question for the Eagles after that long season, what do they have left in the tank today? So far, London beating them to every basketball.
Well, Sullivan, who's made 3 of his 4 3-point attempts in the game, makes only 1 of his 3 free throw attempts there. Perhaps he should have stepped back a few feet. Lasker into the game for the first time as well. Here's Martin. Thompson steps back, fakes the 3, tries to spin, loses the ball. Sullivan comes up with it, has Cook with him, finds Cook. Cook goes the long way round, lays it in for 2. And the Lions lead by 8.
Points off turnovers, good job from Taylor pushing it, and Cook slick around the basket with the finish.
Here's Smith.
In favour of the Lions, inside 3 minutes.
The two best big game players in BBL history with 10 MVPs in finals between them. Sullivan, lobbed up and finished off by Stibbins.
Nice job from Stibbins. He couldn't dunk that. A lot of times you see guys miss the dunk, but he caught it, gathered himself, and finished for the 10-point lead for the Lions.
Well, nobody would have picked this after 7 minutes. A 10-point lead with 24 points on the board by London. Here's Martin, got some space, he's got that range, and he knocks it down for 3.
An unsung hero of the Eagles. I think every coach in the league will tell you how good he is. Martin just does what the team needs to do. That time, knocks down to 3.
Very smart player as well. Here's Sullivan.
As we approach 2 minutes remaining.
Offensive foul on Stibbins, the moving screen. Think that might be his second. We'll wait for the confirmation from the table. It is.
And that's a tough foul. Pick up your second in the first quarter on a screening foul. Not good news for the Lions. They want to have Stibbins out there a lot. He's very effective offensively and on the offensive glass, as you talked about before.
Well, they've left him out there, and into the game for the first time comes Andre Jones. He's been out for so long with this hamstring problem. Smith for 3 is short. Drew Lasker working hard on the glass, takes it to the basket for 2.
Nice job by Lasker. He beat them to the ball that time and finished in the lane.
Well, a moment ago, it was a 10-point lead. 5 in a row from the Eagles have that. Cook under pressure, short. There's Lasker again. And now he's looking to push with the speed. Lasker drives to the basket, draws the contact, couldn't convert, he'll go to the line for 2.
Tough call on Cook there. Looked like he got out of the way to me. Lasker initiated the contact, but Lasker showing his speed, and the Eagles looked slow early, but with the addition of Lasker, Lasker comes into the game and gives them that speed that they needed.
Well, you think back to the early part of the season where they were healthy and they had Charles Smith, Fab Flanoy, Drew Lasker coming off the bench, just 3 all-time veterans of the BBL, experienced guys, and that was really what got them off to that great start where they were just churning out win after win after win.
Yeah, when you can bring that kind of experience and talent off the bench, yeah, you'll have plenty of options throughout the game, no matter how it's being played.
Lasker makes the first free throw.
I thought Lasker had a really good cup final game this year against the Rocks. I thought he was a difference maker when he came on the floor. Lasker gets to the foul line often for somebody coming off the bench. 72% on the season.
Oh, gets his own rebound. It's almost like he drew it off. Nobody boxed out the shooter, Cardinal 6. And he gets a reverse 3-point play. 8 in a row now for Newcastle after they were 10 down.
So, the Lions were up by as many as 10, is now back to 2.
Look at the battle again. Offensive foul on Oyedeji. It didn't look like he sort of ran into Charles Smith and grappled with him. You can see he isn't convinced by that. And well, he's arguing his case, but the referees never changed their mind. So Newcastle can tie the game here with a minute to go, and 2.5 minutes ago they were oh, great block by Sullivan, they were 10 down. Here's Martin, they can go in front here. Oyedeji goes up high, and Lasker's going to get called for the foul.
Ooh, good drive that time from Fletcher on the right side. He usually likes the left, but Sullivan, that's what, you know, is so valuable about having Drew Sullivan in the back. He not only blocks shots, but changes so many shots. 6'8", but the long arms come over and say, get it out of here, Fletcher.
Salter into the game for the first time. He's struggled with injuries in recent weeks as well, but with Stibbins on 2, they didn't want to see Oyedeji just picked up a foul, get called for another one either. Taylor, Brown, Ikenwin in the corner for another 3. Might come back to him. No, Drew Lasker is there. Charles Smith out running ahead of everybody else.
It's a good matchup for Charles here.
And he fully profits with the reverse lane.
Salter can't stay with him. He happened to go out there and guard him too with the 3-point shooting, but Smith right by him for the layup.
10 in a row from the Newcastle Eagles has leveled the game at 24. Brown for three in the corner. Good follow. Oh, he missed it though. Salter with the follow, couldn't convert. Newcastle can take the final shot here. Jones needs to look at the clock. Smith is going to fire up for three. Lasker there again on the glass. Rebound Salter. Is there time for Brown to hold one? Well, there was, but he didn't hold it in time. It almost went in. What a first quarter this has been at the O2 Arena. A brilliant start by the London Lions with Drew Sullivan hitting threes. Newcastle have come back. We're tied at 24. Well, a tremendous first quarter, Rob Paternoster. London flying out of the box, but Newcastle doing what they do.
Well, Newcastle, you can tell it's a team that doesn't get rattled because the crowd was behind London from the start. London looked like they were going to blow it open early, but good job by Eagles getting back in the game. Looks like we're set up for a real good one here today.
So the question from London's point of view, they obviously would have got the confidence from that great start. Does losing that 10-point lead in the way they do, does that hamper their confidence a little bit?
It shouldn't, because you should expect that when you're playing the Eagles. When you're playing a team this good, you know they're going to come back and make runs. I think if you're the Lions, you look up on the board and you say, hey, we have 24 points. Zaire Taylor, who's been averaging 28 points per game in the playoffs, 0 right now. So you expect him to give them a little lift as they come out for the second quarter.
Well, that's the thing. You think about it. They've done it really from the three-point line, the 5 threes from Sullivan and from Joe Ickenwin as well. They might not keep that pace in. Do you think they need to try and establish some more inside game? It's not easy the way Newcastle have packed the lane.
Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. I think Newcastle is happy to give them the three-point shot. Not wide open, but contested. So I think that's their game plan. You can see that. But give Sullivan credit for coming out. With a team, not many guys have been in this game before that are playing in this big event, but he comes out, settles their nerves right away. 12 points, first quarter, Drew Sullivan.
Play-Offs Final. BBL Play-Offs Final is the hashtag that you need to use all afternoon. You never know, we might even pick it up.
Two teams making their way out for the second quarter here at the O2 Arena. We're level at 24 after a phenomenal start by the Lions was wiped out by the Newcastle Eagles with 10 in a row. And London haven't actually scored in almost 3 minutes of playing time, at which point they'd led 24-14.
We're level at 24, second quarter is just underway.
Here's Taylor. Can he find some way of getting to the basket? Usually even in a crowded area he manages to break free. Here's Brown. Sullivan. Back again. Sullivan puts it on the floor, and now he will get that. I don't know if Martin got a little touch on it. It doesn't matter as it doesn't go out of bounds, and Newcastle come back with it. Fletcher, you've got to stop him. He did manage to get in front. Here's Martin. There are a bit 6s and 7s, the matchups here. Ooh, Jones flipped to the floor.
Jones on the floor, but still managing.
Martin drives in. Martin with the finger roll, 12 in a row by the Newcastle Eagles.
That was a broken play. So when someone goes to the floor like that, sometimes you stop, and Martin took advantage of it with the hard drive to the hoop.
Salter out to Brown. London desperately needing a basket. Rod Brown trying to get it. Salter with the follow, lays it in.
That happens with Newcastle's help. A lot of times they help so hard that they leave the big guy, and Salter, second time he's attacked the rim.
Jones knocked loose by Taylor. Great defense. He gets the shot off at the second attempt. And there was nobody from Newcastle inside the three-point line other than Jones. Here's Taylor. Oh, great challenge.
Wow.
Foul is called. Looked like he got plenty of the ball, but it's one of those where we all see the hand on ball, but whether there's some other contact.
No, I didn't see the contact. I thought that was excellent defense. It was actually a bad shot by Taylor, and they bailed him out with the foul call. Now, Newcastle's doing a really good job on Taylor. They are trapping him at times, but they're also sending him to the left hand. And you see coming around the ball screen, he's struggling to get to the hoop with the left hand. When he goes right, he has a much better chance of slicing to the basket.
Taylor makes the first free throw. His first point of the game, as Rob pointed out, he's been averaging 28 points through the playoffs so far.
And another thing to talk about is in the playoffs, the Lions have attempted 30 free throws a game. So let's see if they can get to the line today. which if they can, will give them that opportunity to put that number on the board that we think they need against the Eagles.
Well, he got a little bit of a fortuitous bounce there, Taylor, on that second free throw, but it did go in. They've had 5 free-throw attempts so far in 12 minutes. Bit of full court pressure coming here from London as Stu Thompson and his brother into the game for the first time. Good hands from Salter, knocks it loose. Here's that matchup again. Smith is going to take the 3 this time, and Ickenwin boxed out well to get the rebound.
I'd like to see Smith go by him again like he did last time.
As we will show you some great halftime entertainment.
Taylor lobs up to Sullivan. Oh, good pass to Salter, and he's got a couple of quick scores.
Good play from Taylor to throw the lob to Sullivan, and smart play from Sullivan with another assist.
Scoreboard ticking once again for London. Fletcher, nice dribble, drives in, good recovery, but there's Thompson, can't convert. There's a foul in there somewhere. I assume it's Salter on Thompson. We'll check what the referee signals. It is number 4, and it will be 2 free throws for Stuart Thompson.
Fletcher getting the oohs and ahs from the crowd as he gets to the basket. He's so quick and he's able to get there. Hasn't really converted yet, but his penetration is what set that offensive rebound up.
Foul called on Salter, who now goes to the bench. Oyedeji checking in for him.
Stuart Thompson, been an improved player this year for the Eagles off the bench. And he can shoot the 3. Good size as well. Not great at the foul line though this year. 16 for 30.
Well, hard to see why on that first one. He had nice looking form, good rotation on the ball.
You play 35 games and you only go to the line 30 times. Not a lot of practice in game situations.
But he makes them both on that occasion.
2 for 2 for the line. First points of the game for Stuart Thompson.
Pace of the game slowed down just a little after the electrifying start. London leading it by 2, couple minutes into the second quarter here. Oh, good hands, Fletcher with the steal. He'll race it back, he won't be caught, and he lays it in.
Nice job from Fletcher. Anticipation exploding up the floor to get to the basket.
It was interesting, Newcastle forcing the ball out of Zaire Taylor's hands. But when you've got a point guard like Rod Brown, that's no real downgrade. Sullivan, another 3, not this time. Thompson with the boards. Here's Jones.
For both teams in this second quarter.
Jones trying to get it. Smith turns. Good help. Somebody kicked that, did they? Yeah, football is the call. And, well, that would reset the shot clock, except it was holding on 14 anyway, so it'll stay there.
After the hot start from the 3-point line, the Lions have cooled off out there. And you can see that that's what the Eagles want. They want to keep them out of the paint. But the game has slowed down, which I think is good for the Lions. I think they don't want to get into a track meet with the Eagles. I'd like to see Sullivan maybe catch the ball in the post a little bit, play off him down there.
Sullivan bats that loose. Charles Smith will chase it down. Smith against Sullivan, tough shot, good challenge. There's Thompson trying to knock it loose, but London come up with it. Brown to Cook, Cook, charge. And I don't think he was helped there by his point guard because he had to take it, and Defoe was in a good position to take the defensive foul.
Yeah, put him in a tough spot. I'd like to see Brown with the little pull-up there in the lane. But Defoe has always been good at coming over and drawing the charge. He does a great job of that, whether in the half court or in the full court. An underrated thing for a big man to have. He's not a shot blocker, but boy, does he get in your way when he has to.
Fletcher gets to the basket again.
Oh! Wow, the floater. Oh, he's going left though, but that's so hard to guard. The ability to get in the lane and throw the floater off the glass. Fletcher coming out to play today.
Taylor drives in, dumps off. Oyedeji will finish around the basket.
Nice job from Taylor. That was to the right hand, sliced through the lane, and a big body Oyedeji. Easy finish for him.
Jones back to Smith, directing traffic. Smith against Taylor this time. Smith spins, Throws it up off the glass. It looked like it wasn't his first choice option, but he made it count.
Well, he backed him down from the three-point line, and Smith shows the ability to score off 1 foot, score off 2 feet. Any way you want, he can put it in the hoop.
Taylor driving in. There's a foul in there. I think it's Jones. And he runs to the bench, does he? He runs right down the other end of the court, and he will sit back down as Lasker comes in. It was his second personal foul there, Andre Jones.
Another tough call on Jones. Remember, he's the one that got called for that block shot there, and that time, a little bit of body contact will send Taylor to the line.
Well, Fab Flanoy, who's normally very animated when he is on the sidelines, just he's got that big boot on his foot to get up, and then he needed his crutches to move up and down the sideline. There he is, you can see. He's still got the shooter shirt on. Wouldn't surprise you if he had the game shirt on, just in case. I can play in this booth. Rebound,
right to the hoop here.
Oh, and it's probably should have gone because Cook's on a couple of fouls and wouldn't have been able to play much defense. Zaire Taylor from deep. Well, Deji tips it down, but only as far as Thompson. Fletcher finds Defoe with the little mid-range in the short corner.
Nice pass from Fletcher. Nice cut from Stuart Thompson. Once he cut through, OEDJ didn't go out on Defoe. And OEDJ hasn't come out on Defoe yet. Defoe can get that shot when he wants.
Here's Sullivan. It's interesting how far. Oh, nice pass. Feeds the big man. Can't convert, though. Good double team help from Charles Smith. Here's Smith in the open floor. Again, Cook on two, so he might as well go out. It's blocked by Oyedeji, but it comes out. Down to Thompson. Smith underneath the basket has to run back out. Now he turns back in. Finds a gap where there didn't look one possible.
Oh, wow. Good move from Smith. He's great at that quick spin move, and then the touch to put it off the glass.
Charlie Buckets, they call him up in Newcastle because he just keeps getting them. There's another basket to his name, and now, midway through the second quarter, Newcastle with a 5-point lead. Vince McCauley has to call a timeout.
Good timeout from Vince. You know, you can't let it get away from you, but excellent job from Newcastle on the defensive end. Last possession, I thought the Lions got a good look with Oyedeji, but Charles Smith did a good job of coming over and changing the shot. So right now in the timeout, Vince has to come up with a bucket. I'd love to see Sullivan on the block. Get him the ball on the block, because he doesn't always have to score, but he can definitely set up his teammates from down there. Real tough cover when he gets it close to the basket.
Important 5 minutes in the balance of this game. London need to just keep on the coat. If they get double figures behind, it starts to look a mountain to climb against a team of the quality of Newcastle.
Yeah, well, early on you thought, hey, maybe London's going to put up a big number on the board. But as the game goes on, you know, they slowed down scoring. Only 33 right now. And like we said, like we talked about, the Eagles, 97 points per game. You know they're going to be in the 90 area. So London have to find a way to get the ball into the paint, because they haven't had good opportunities in there. They've had the opportunities early from three-point range, but come up with something now. Maybe Stibbins, maybe Sullivan, close to the basket.
Well, you think back, it was about 3 minutes from the end of the first quarter that the Lions had 24 points on the board. So 24 points in 7 minutes, and then in the 7 or so minutes since then, only 9.
Here's Lasker picking up Taylor, looking shading him to the left hand.
Here's Sullivan, Stibbins, trying to get some little bit of space here. Taylor picks the ball up, he's under pressure, gets it to Stibbins, shot clock getting low. Stibbins drives in, off the back of the ring, tipped in by Cook.
Nice job from Cook there. The help came over, he get tacked the rim for a big tip in. They needed that, the Lions.
Fletcher.
Good help from Sullivan. Sorry, Daniel.
Stop and go. Smith checks his feet because that's worth 3.
Wow, Fletcher again, pulling all the strings. Great dish. And Charlie Smith on fire right now.
Up to 14 now, Smith. As I said at the top of the show, nobody has more MVPs in a big final than Charles Smith and Drew Sullivan. They both have 5, lead the BBL. They're both trying to get a sixth and break ahead of the other the way they're playing here in this first half.
Well, two guys that have a lot of respect for each other. Battle each other for a long time. Different teams for Drew, always going up against Charlie in the big game.
And there's Sullivan trying to add to 3, doesn't go. Here's Lasker with the speed. Lasker driving in. Oh, he just lost it. It's tipped up in the air and Cook has it.
We talked about that slippery ball sometimes. That time slipped right out of his hand.
Taylor to Sullivan. Sullivan with the stutter, goes! And he'll go to the line for a bonus.
A nice play by Taylor, getting in there and finding Sullivan. And Sullivan, what I like about him is it never seems forced. It never seems rushed. He always gets his footwork right. Good finish for him that time. And the other end, Lasker, we thought he had a chance for a deuce there. So big play there from the Lions to be able to come back and cut it to 4.
Sullivan at the free throw line looking for his 15th point of the game. He's tied as the game's leading scorer with Charles Smith.
Back into the game, replacing Taylor. Sullivan to shoot 1.
It's off the back of the ring and just out of the reach of Smith, but Newcastle come down with it. Lasker driving to the hole, couldn't quite convert.
Nice back screen there from Defoe. It's like semi-transition back screens, tough to defend.
Brown around the screen. Brown up in the air and then trying to work out what he was going to do with it later, and that's never a good combination.
And that time Brown send him to the right hand. Taylor to the left hand, Brown to the right hand. Much more effective Brown when he can turn the corner going left. That time goes right and turns the basketball over. But that's a turnover. That's okay in some ways, because a turnover in live play, the Eagles usually convert for 2.
Wonderful set that will be performed for you by a group that you know. Flawless coming together.
Here's Defoe. Oh, he's got very deep there. It's hard to stop him when he gets that close. Look at Lasker again. He's been really effective on the offensive glass today.
4-point game, just over 3 minutes remaining.
Taylor on the bench right now for the Lions.
Cook. Oh, trying to, can he get it back? He did get it back. Shot clock though, he's got to get one off. It's blocked, is it? Didn't hit the ring, doesn't matter. Newcastle have it. Play, says the referee. Fletcher, Newcastle fans going nuts. They thought that was a foul, but really Fletcher sort of ran into it and went. Smith drives in off the glass. 16 for Charles Smith.
Man, missed the open 3, sure, but he followed the shot, and he's done a great job on that right side of banking in the shots. The little runners, good start from Smith.
Sullivan gets it to Stibbins. Stibbins under pressure. Good work from Martin to deny.
All defense got Martin able to play inside and outside on that defensive end.
Lasker again with the good step to the basket.
Fast up the floor, and he loves that right hand as well. Gets to the basket, been a difference maker in the game, Drew Lasker.
And he still had the presence of mind to finish the bucket. 8-point game.
Stibbins puts it all blocked from behind by Charles Smith, doing a bit of everything. Here's Fletcher in the open court with Sullivan back. Fletcher misses, followed by Martin, nothing doing. And it's opened up here, 2-on-2. Brown, nice move. Oh, he's missed the layup. Defoe has it. Fletcher's on his own down the other end of the court, but they slow it down.
Oh, Fletcher had an easy opportunity at the other end.
That'll be a foul. It can win on Fletcher, on Lasker, sorry. I think it'll be 2 free throws. We'll wait for confirmation for the referee.
And it looks like Newcastle's going to call timeout. They look tired out there, especially Lasker. And if I'm Vince McCauley, at halftime or even now in the timeout, I'm talking about backing up a little bit against Lasker and Fletcher. Both of them are hurting them with the penetration. Step off and give them a little space.
Well, Newcastle's lead now up to 8 points with 90 seconds to go here. Big 90 seconds in this one. Psychologically, the difference between 8 and 10 is huge. I know it's only a basket, but when you go into the locker room and you see a double-figure deficit, just the plays on the London mind, surely.
No question about it. And all of a sudden you look up and the Eagles are at 45 points. So they're on pace for the plus 90 range we thought they would get to. And again, it's going to come down to London. Zaire Taylor been quiet. I think he only has 2 points so far today. So, you know, maybe come down to court, get him back in the game, get a basket, go in at halftime, and figure out ways to get him going.
Taylor's points come from the free throw line, not made a shot in open play as yet. Newcastle 16 times this season gone above 100 points. That's the first time a BBL team has done that in over a decade. Cheshire in 2002-03 were the last team to do it. It used to happen a lot in the early days of the BBL. More offense and dare I say it, less defense back those days.
I think so. I think defense all across the board in any league. You look at NBA, NCAA, the defense has definitely improved. But this Eagles team, you know, with the way they can come at you in ways with different guys and the unselfishness. Talking to Dave Forrester before the game, no egos on this team. He really loved coaching them. They've been high IQ basketball team that shares the basketball from start to finish.
Well, it's funny because I talk about these offensive numbers. Every time I interview Fab, I go, what a great offensive team you are, and he shoots me down every time. No, we're all about defense first. It's all about defense.
Well, they definitely do play defense, and their defense sets up their offense, but trust me, they certainly can play on the offensive end.
9-point game.
Taylor looking for the ball screen now.
Gets it from Stibbins.
Beat him to the right hand. Good job.
And they double team Trav.
Traveled. That was a good example of how you want to defend him. You want to take away the right hand. Fletcher quickly got over the screen and then going to the left hand on the rescreen. Didn't turn the corner like he would have going to the right hand.
Drew Lasker getting rousing applause from the Newcastle fans behind their bench, and rightly so. Great effort from him here in the first half. Chance for London, who trail by, for Newcastle, who trail by as many as 10 to lead by double figures, and they do. Thompson for 3, and it is a 12-point Newcastle lead.
Bad defense by the Lions that time. They ran the horn set quickly, and Thompson popped wide open from behind the arc to knock the 3 down.
Sullivan to reply for 3, doesn't go. Taylor knocks it loose, and Newcastle looking to build it. Martin driving in, out to Thompson again for 3. No.
Ooh, online. 2 for 1 here.
Taylor. Even then, they deny him getting to the basket. Cook fires over Martin, halfway down. Rebound Oyedeji, goes back up strong. Shot clock switched off. Newcastle can have the final play here in this first half.
They needed that bucket. Oyedeji, a big guy down there, big basket for him.
You feel they need a stop here as well. Ticking it right down. Fletcher around the screen. Fletcher drives in, ripped away. Traveling violation is the call. Oyedeji got his hands on the ball. And Fletcher arguing about it. I think he's trying to say, is it not a jump ball if he's holding it?
Certainly didn't see a travel there, and Flanoy is going nuts on the sidelines.
Timeout call by Vince McCauley with just under 2 seconds to play here in the first half. If they can just get one more score. You can see there Fab still wanting clarification. Look at his face.
And Neil Wilkinson wasn't the one that made the call, I don't think. Well, it's interesting that he went over. But yeah, you know, if you're London right now, draw up something, steal a 3-point shot, go in with the momentum, it would be huge.
Well, Fab having plenty to say.
It's very rare you get that type of leeway.
Well, I was just thinking. Oh, he's got a warning now. Any more a technical foul? It was as he walked away. The referee said, no, that's enough. Any more verbals and we'll give you a technical foul.
I was surprised that he allowed him to go for that long. We haven't seen that this year with many coaches. I mean, you like to see that in the big game. Let him go. We don't want to see technical fouls. In the playoffs this year, I think there have been too many quick technical foul calls. It's an emotional time. Big game. Let it go. Let's play. And we don't want anything, we don't want any free throws in this game.
So 1.9 seconds on the clock. London with the ball, needing to get down court. There's perhaps time for a pass and a dribble.
Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to throw it out of bounds from there. If it goes directly out of bounds, you get the ball back underneath there.
1.9 seconds remaining in the first half.
I was thinking you're better catching it in the backcourt and trying your chances from the halfway line as trying to throw it too long. American football style, because somebody can deflect it, and shoot the other way.
Got a chance!
Oh, kneeling from Drew Lasker. But a phenomenal first half of basketball for the Newcastle Eagles. They trailed by as many as 10. They were 24-14 down after only 7 minutes, but they've turned that round at the half. It's Newcastle 49, London 39. Well, just an amazing turnaround there by the Newcastle Eagles. It's what they do. We shouldn't be surprised by it, but it's still impressive when you see it.
I don't think they were phased early because they wanted to give up the three-point shot. They wanted to take away the paint touches, the penetration. So they stuck to their game plan, and then that offense they had, led by Charlie Smith and Ramon Fletcher, 49 on the board in the first half.
Defensively, they've done such a good job of taking the lane out of the equation. How can London find a way of getting Zaire to the basket or posting up with Sullivan and Oyedeji?
Their spacing, I thought, has been poor. I think they need to spread the floor. The way the Eagles play, if you could spread them out, you will get opportunities around the basket. So far, for me, the Lions' spacing poor, needs to improve in the second half.
39 points for London. We think that's about the pace, but we both said 78 isn't going to win them the game.
Well, 3 points from Zaire Taylor. They need more from him in the second half.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. A fantastic first half here of basketball at the O2. Massive day of basketball here at the O2 Arena in London. It's been building towards this, and it looks as we are at the halfway point of this competition, as if Newcastle Eagles are on pace for the clean sweep here of honours in the British Basketball League this season, with 3 already in the bank. They're looking to try and get one more trophy in the cabinet and become the first team in the history of British basketball to win the clean sweep for 4 times. I'm pleased to be joined by the Cheshire Phoenix coach, John Cofino. John, great to have you with us. I mean, you played against London Lions in the semi-final round. How do you think they can turn this around?
Well, they're going to have to stop Charles Smith for one, and transition defense is another one that's hurting them. They really Newcastle's pushing the ball down after a made basket, and it's really affected them. And I tell you the truth, they're lucky to only be down 10.
Well, they came out firing at the start of the first half. All those threes going in from Ikamwin and Sullivan, but you can't live by that. They have to try and get some way of getting to the basket, and they haven't really been able to do that.
No, and I think that's Newcastle's game plan, is to allow them to shoot the three. You know, Zaire Taylor's been a facilitator for the first half, but I expect him to take some more shots in the second half. But, you know, our game plan was to double team Zaire, and it's working against them also. And you know, but I don't know if London can stay with their offensive attack.
At the other end of the floor, we always talk about Newcastle's offensive prowess. 49 points on the board. You kind of think if they get 35, 40 in the second half, that's going to be too many for London.
I agree, and they missed a couple of putbacks, easy putbacks that Newcastle did, but I have to tell you, Drew Lasker has really stepped up his game today, and those are the kinds of players that win you championships. It's those guys off the bench that contribute, and with 8 points, and he's pushing the ball, and he's active on the glass, and, you know, if he continues to do that, you know, Newcastle's going to be tough to beat.
I mean, he's really been the standout off the bench with that phenomenal effort, as you say, at both ends. But Charles Smith doing what Charles Smith does.
MVP. You know, no one stopped him this year. They're going to have to find a way to take the ball out of his hands, but he's really just a cool hand. And, you know, he's the go-to guy. And, you know, when you have a go-to guy, you can win a lot of games.
And if you were Vince McCauley in the locker room, what's your key message to your guys here?
You know, I think they need to keep the intensity up. I think Zaire needs to push the ball a little bit more offensively. He needs to start scoring. You know, they got here because of his scoring, and I think he needs to do more. I mean, Drew was fantastic, but, you know, those shots didn't, you know, fall in the second quarter. So they have to get more of a balanced attack, and Zaire's going to have to pick it up.
Zaire averaging 28 points a game in the postseason, as you found out, just a couple of points on the board. Newcastle have done so well defensively against him. He's got to find some way to win that one-on-one matchup.
Again, and Newcastle doesn't want to get hurt by Zaire, so they're double teaming him, and it's really hurt them. They have to figure out a way to counter that trap and to make them pay, because they're leaving guys open.
And your call here, John, you think Newcastle hangs on and wins the clean sweep?
I do. I think they're a veteran team. I think that, with a lead, they're even tougher. They wouldn't. If they were down 10, I would still feel strongly that they have a chance to win. But being up 10, and it looks like London gave them everything they had, which, in my opinion, they haven't without Zaire. But I think Newcastle might pull away a little bit more.
John, thank you very much for your time. Some expert opinion from the man who was hoping to be here, so close to it. They almost knocked off London in the semi-final. They were unable to get that done. They had that chance at the end with a three-point shot late on that wasn't given. Phenomenal effort from John Cofino and his Cheshire Phoenix side to come back and really try and take on the Lions, but unfortunately for them, he sat here with me rather than down there on the sidelines. Well, today is all about British Basketball League action, but as the regular season comes to an end, we start to think internationally. I'm pleased to be joined by GB Basketball's Roger Morland. Roger, great to have you with us. First of all, what a tremendous occasion for British basketball this is.
Oh, this is fantastic, isn't it? It just shows everybody what the sport is like, puts it on the big stage, and they're getting a great game to boot.
Now, a lot of our viewers at home will have heard much about the Great Britain basketball program over the last 18 months or so post-Olympics and the trials and tribulations about funding. What's the latest situation on that?
Well, the latest situation is we were grateful for the fact that Sports England gave us some money. We haven't got as much money as we had during the Olympic period, but it gives the women who are in camp now the opportunity to go to European Basketball Championships, Eurobasket, and hopefully give them a really good account of themselves.
We'll get on to the on-the-court matters in a moment, but you must be heartened by the response that you got, not only from within the sport, but from without, the reaction when people look at basketball and say, well, actually, this is a rising sport in this country.
Absolutely. I mean, as we said before, you've only got to look at this event. You've got to look at the popularity of the game across the board, with young people right through to older people. It's one of the best supported team sports, and I think the reaction gave a lot of people a big shock. This is a big sport, and it merits support.
Well, let's talk about action on the court. As you mentioned, GB's women in action in Eurobasket. They're in camp. What are your thoughts about that? How confident are you that they can go out there and do well?
Well, we know. I mean, the women have been at the Eurobasket for the last 3 occasions. They're a really good, tight-knit team. They play like a team. They've got a really tough group with a lot of ears in there: Russia, Croatia, Latvia, and Serbia. So it will be a tough group, but they've got results against those teams before. So we're optimistic, and we know the women will give a really good account of themselves.
Obviously, no Joey Leedham, which is a blow. She's a really standout player for Great Britain, but they proved in the qualifications that they have the ability to come together as a team.
Absolutely. It's a real good mix of experienced players who've been around a long time and new up and coming stars as well. And, people should look out for the likes of Temi Fagbenle, who's the next generation. Great mix, great balance.
And from an organisational perspective, what do you deem to be success at this Eurobasket for the girls?
Well, we're lucky to get out. First of all, it's that old cliche, each game at a time, obviously. Tough group, get into the second phase, and if we can, we'd love to be in the top 8 and then see what happens.
And then looking at the men's side of the game, obviously they're not in competitive action this summer, but you have got the game at the Copper Box down the road against the Tallbacks, a chance for Drew Sullivan of the Lions to go out and win his 100th cap. That promises to be a great occasion.
Well, it always is, I think, when you play the Kiwis. We'll have, again, a really good blend of experience and young players for the future, and as you say, great occasion for Drew to get his 100th cap.
Does this give you an opportunity to try and give some of those guys, some of the younger guys, because we've seen the success of the under-20s, a chance to try and get up into the senior squad?
Absolutely, and Coach Joe Prunty, has been one of his big ambitions, create a family atmosphere, give experience to young players coming through, and this will be invaluable for the future.
So, I mean, your summation really of what is the state of play, state of the nation of British basketball as we see it right now?
Great talent there, great talent for the future. We need funding, and we're still going to continue our campaigns to get more funding and look at all other avenues of funding. But in the meantime, grateful to have the support of Sport England.
And just one quick one we've seen in the BBL this year, obviously Drew Sullivan, Kieran Achara, Ben Mockford. We've seen good British players who play for the national team playing in the BBL. That's got to help the sport as well.
Well, it must do, mustn't it? I mean, you've got to have a good domestic competition and have your international players playing at home. That's the ideal.
Thank you very much for your time, Roger. As I say, Great Britain playing this summer at home, the men at the Copper Box. That promises to be a cracking game, and we wish the ladies all the success in their European Championship qualification, the Eurobasket. As Roger says, it will be a difficult task for them, but the way they played last summer in qualifying for this Eurobasket, who would write them off? They're very much a great team coming together, great camaraderie, and we wish them all the best in the summer. And I'm rejoined by Rob Paternostro, the Leicester Riders. Rob, we were just talking there with Roger about the Great Britain program. You see BBL action all through the season. We've seen this year, I said, Drew Sullivan, Kieran Achara, Ben Mockford, 3 guys, Gareth Murray as well, another one who plays for the Great Britain team. That's more guys playing domestically than we've seen in years gone by. That's got to be helpful for the BBL and for the sport as a whole.
I agree, and I also agree that there are young players that are coming through as well playing in the BBL. I know 2 of mine, Jamel Anderson, Connor Washington, who have been with the GB team before. They practiced with them. There are a lot of guys that are coming through as well. I think it's as healthy as it's been in a long time.
And then the other interesting thing is what that does for somebody like Darius Defoe or Andrew Thompson, who play at the highest level here in the BBL, play against these international players. Should they be in consideration for the GB team? They don't seem to have got the chances thus far, but might they in the future?
Well, I've always been surprised that they haven't had the opportunity. You talk about Thompson, you talk about Defoe. 2 guys with size, 2 guys that are winners as well. So maybe next season will be different. I would love to see more involved.
And all round, we were talking about the growth of the game in this country. You will have seen it this year, obviously playing at a bigger venue out in Loughborough. You're building that new arena in town. You've been selling out. Newcastle have had big crowds. It's been a really positive season for the league.
No question about it. You go around the league and you're going to these great environments to play basketball. Yeah, some have to come a little farther than others, but right now when you look at it, it's very healthy. And I think, in this day and age with the social media, the ability to watch games, to read about anything you want, I think it's growing, and I think we're in a better spot now than we've ever been.
And looking at today's game once again, I was talking to Coach Cafino about it. How would you be able to, I mean, you've coached Zaire before, you brought him to this country. What would you be saying to him to try and find some way of being able to attack the basket and get at this Newcastle defense?
Well, the way Newcastle plays the pick and roll, they're going to force you away from it a lot of times. I think they have to spread the floor better for him. I don't think Zaire's been at fault too much. There's been so much so many players packing the lane. They really hasn't had an opportunity. So I'm hoping that they drew something up at halftime to get them out in the open spaces. We were able to do it a little bit against Newcastle this year, where you open up the floor with your quickness. We had Watson and Washington. Yeah, but if you keep it tight and you don't have the proper spacing, then that Newcastle Eagle team will suffocate you defensively.
Well, they certainly have. They've been able to suffocate defensively. The crowd here being whipped up into a frenzy. We're a few minutes away from the second half tip-off. It's interesting, they've had a longer halftime warm-up almost than they did in the first half, and you wonder how much that affected Newcastle in the first half and whether it benefited London. London really need to come out of the blocks as they did at the start of the first half.
Yeah, it's going to be important. You don't want this to get out of hand. It's at 10 now, so I'd like to see the London come out. And I'd love to see them spread the floor, like I said, but also go in the post to Sullivan a little bit. We haven't seen him get the ball down on the box at all today. With him, it's not just about the scoring. I said it before. He can be a guy that can set everybody else up from that position.
Do you think they've not done that in part because you've got Oyedeji in there who has to be down on the low block, and somebody like Stibbons is more effective down there, and then it sort of pushes Drew out, and because he hit those early threes?
Yeah, with Stibbons and Oyedeji on the court, it's going to be hard for him to post up, no question about it, because their men, Stibbons and Oyedeji, they'll be sitting in the lane. Newcastle does a great job of that. And also, Newcastle fronts the post very well. But when they go to the lineups, maybe go to a lineup with Drew at the 4, Brown, a little more quickness, you know, get Drew some opportunities down there, because I know that in big spots, you want the ball in his hands.
Well, Zaire Taylor was MVP of the playoff final 12 months ago, as we said at the top of the show. He's won the last 2 playoff finals, last year with Worcester, the year before with Rob Paternoster, Drew Sullivan, whilst they were all together at Leicester. A guy who really understands what to do in the big occasion, and you've got to assume that he's going to come out in the second half and be more effective. I'm pleased to be joined by our good friend Mark Woods. Mark, what have you been able to glean from the coaches for us?
Well, we saw there a picture of Vince McCauley talking to Zaire Taylor, just 3 points for him in this first half. I spoke to him, he said, well, defense is going to be key for us. We haven't played the kind of D that we've been playing all year. If we'd given them just 39 points, we'd have a great chance. 49, not so much. The need to improve on that. As for Fab, well, for him, the big thing was maintaining the defensive intensity. He feels that at times that slipped away here and there. They need to stop Lions getting offensive rebounds and make sure they finish. And one that Rob will like, he said he needs to stop getting on the officials. I guess when you've got that big boot in your foot, you should be scaring the officials, not worrying too much about what you say to them.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mark, for that insight from down on the sidelines. It's amazing Fab would have that time to say, I need to lay off the officials. And when just a minute before halftime, he was there going at it. We're almost good to go here in this second half at the O2, just 20 seconds away from tip-off. And you just wonder whether this game might get away from London. It's such an important first 3 or 4 minutes of this game that they get it back into single figures and keep calm.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, like I said, if this doesn't work with this lineup here, maybe go to a quicker, smaller lineup to spread them out. Because with the Eagles, yeah, they have a lot of good defensive players, but foot speed sometimes may cause them problems. But hey, give the Newcastle Eagles credit so far. Long season, grinding all the way. Come out 49 points in the first half. And right now, they look like they're the team to beat in this playoff final.
Well, you're right. It must have been a grind those last few weeks when bodies were thin on the ground and they just kept on turning them out.
If it was for us, we were playing those meaningful games at the end, and I know not only physically, but mentally. But today, big occasion, big arena. They look like they're locked in, and they have 20 more minutes until they can raise the trophy up for the clean sweep.
Second half, the BBL Playoff Final underway. It's the Newcastle Eagles with a 10-point lead and the ball here as they go for a record third clean sweep, and this man goes for a record 6th MVP at the pace he's going. 18 points for Charles Smith.
Unbelievable. Nice job by him and Fletcher there. They ran a little 2-man game, and over the outstretched arms of Sullivan, Smith knocks it down.
Here's Sullivan. So hot in early stages of the first half. Oyedeji going after the offensive rebound. Tries again. Blocked this time by Martin. Here's Andy Thompson at the top. Long rebound comes out to Taylor. Taylor to the finger roll, doesn't quite go.
And that was, he escorted him to the left hand right away, Fletcher. Good job. He went in, he tried to make the right-handed shot on the left side. Tough shot, didn't go.
Defoe likes that shot at the top of the key. It doesn't drop for him, though.
And I'd said before, Oyedeji doesn't come out on him. He didn't that time either. He can get that shot all night.
Just the one basket here in the opening minute 15. Can Ikenwin change that? No, he can't. Fletcher on his own, doesn't need anybody else. Beautiful finger roll.
I love the finger roll. That was popular in the 80s. Fletcher that time, finger roll, right for 2.
Shot doesn't go. Defoe's in there. So to Oyedeji. Zaire Taylor somehow comes up with it. Sullivan down to Oyedeji now. Ikamwin attacking the basket. And, well, London just can't get the scoreboard ticking here.
Nice job by Thompson not fouling.
Pull up from Smith. Oh, the way he was going back down court, you thought that was in.
That would have been, that probably would have called a timeout there by Vince if that went in.
They need a score here, London, desperately. Ikamwin. Stibbins drives in. And Defoe looking for a foul, not getting one. He's slow to his feet, he's holding his hand, which is, of course, a problem for him coming into the game. But London get their first points on the board here in the second half.
Much needed 2 points for the London Lions as they cut the lead back down to single digits.
Fletcher, nice.
Bad defense that time from London. Fletcher, yeah, you'd rather him take the jump shot, but not the jump shot wide open from 15 feet. He can knock that down all night. And Fletcher, 12 points so far for the leader of the Eagles from the backcourt.
Just over 7 minutes remaining.
Taylor out to Sullivan. This has to go really for London. It does go for 3.
That time, oh, good job from Taylor. He dragged all the defenders with him, drew wide open behind the arc, knocked it down. And again, another big hoop from Sullivan, 17 for today.
Well, he's keeping his team in this.
Smith with a matchup here with Taylor to have to double.
Cross court to Martin. Good challenge by Stibbins. He might have. Oh. I was about to say he might have got a piece. Oyedeji should have got the rebound. It just dropped out of his hands.
A little bit of fatigue there, Oyedeji. Good job there recognizing the double team. Smith's cross court. I'd like to see maybe Martin go by him to the basket there. Settled for the jumper. Good play from Stibbins on the challenge.
Lobbed into Defoe, and again, he doesn't go out to him. He's going to knock that 15-footer down.
That's got to be in the scouting report. When you play Defoe, he loves to make that 15-foot jump shot.
There he is at the defensive end, knocking it away. Fletcher has it knocked loose, ball on the floor. Martin comes up with it. Taylor commits the foul, and Martin will go to the line. I just wonder whether you need to take Oyedeji out of the game right now. He's looking a bit fatigued.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, I would like to see Brown and Cook maybe for Equanim and Oyedeji. Give the spacing out on the floor. Obviously, defensively, you know, you're gonna have to lock up, and maybe that's not their best defensive lineup. But right now, they need that offense. You know, good offense can really slow down this Eagles team.
Martin makes the first.
Scott Martin, great season. You know, again, just does all the little things right. 74% from the foul line, 14 points a game for Martin. He's on the all-BBL defensive team, 7 rebounds a game as well. Graduate from Notre Dame University.
Taylor for 3, way off the mark. It's a bit of a rush shot, if truth be told. Smith back to Martin. Martin puts it on the floor, drops it off. Foul is on the floor. That basket won't count. But we said 4 minutes ago it's important for the Lions to start well here and hang on, and they're not doing so.
No, Martin has one of the best up fakes in the league. He keeps it for a long time, raises it up. That time he used it to get to the basket. Good pass, but the foul was called before that. Nice play.
Thompson couldn't convert though. London needs some points here. Need to get the scoreboard ticking. Ikamwin. Over the top and out of bounds. A little early in the offense as well for that shot.
Well, that's a long 2. You know, you don't want that long 2. And like I said, the Eagles love watching Equanim take long jump shots.
Well, the bulk of the noise in the 0-2 is coming from those bedecked in black and white. As Fletcher attacks the basket.
Wow! I'll tell you what, over the top of Oyedeji with the left hand. Great finisher off the glass. Fletcher now with 14.
Taylor. He gets his own rebound. Taylor fires up for 3. Taylor just can't buy one right now. Wow. Wow.
Wide open at the top of at the foul line. Not even thinking of going out on him. And Defoe will wear you out all day from there. 8 points for him. Up to 18 right now.
got to find some sort of response. Here's Taylor, checks his feet, fires up for 3, doesn't go. Sullivan trying to keep it alive. Well, Taylor yet to score a field goal here. Fletcher out to Martin. They need a timeout. They need a timeout. They got to stop this. Well, London eventually come up with it. That's going to be a foul by Fletcher. It's only his first.
And I'm surprised that Vince hasn't called a timeout with the 18-point deficit. You don't want to waste timeouts in the second half, but they're in a tough spot right now.
Well, 18 points down. What are you saving them for? You need to do something now. Is the other thing.
And Brown comes in for Taylor. As Taylor goes to the bench with 3 points. And it doesn't really change their spacing that much. And you know, Eagles talked about putting bodies in the paint, and when you don't have the spacing, you can put those bodies in the paint.
London ball from the side. Just 5 points they've managed here in the second half so far. Sullivan. Stevens blocked from behind by Martin, but caught on the head. The bench behind them didn't agree with it. I think he did catch him on the head.
Yeah, it looked like he did. And I think with Martin, when you see Stevens taking a jumper about at the top of the key, you probably don't have to foul him there. You know, he's not really a good outside shooter. So Stevens now will go to the line for 2. He's had a good rookie season in the BBL, Stevens. Definitely can score. 15 points a game, 8 rebounds. Not a great free throw shooter, though. 60% on the season.
Well, he got a little help there from the ring here at the 0-2. Second one, not so helpful, but it comes all the way back to him. And Brown has it. Brown launches for 3. Rod Brown gives London a much-needed scoring boost.
Big shot from Brown. First bucket of the game for the veteran.
Martin to reply, doesn't go. Brown comes for the rebound. Bit of momentum here maybe for London. Well, nobody in the corner. Somebody was supposed to flare out there, but they didn't.
That's the second time Brown's turned it over like that. Both times he was going to that right hand. Got caught in the air.
62-48.
Looks like a zone defense now, matchup zone for the Lions.
Just trying to try something to throw Newcastle out of their sync. Oh, stolen away. Brown is with it, can win if he needs him. Goes it alone and finishes it off. Down to 12. Another stop and a score here. They'll be back where they started. Oh, it's almost thrown beyond Fletcher. Oh, it's too easy. Too easy.
Especially with the left hand there. He had him square it up, and he let him go left. It's easier said than done, but you have to try to get him off that left hand. 16 for Fletcher.
He's really good at that little rock step where it looks like he's going back and then he attacks you.
Change of pace is always important for a point guard.
Here's Brown.
Spin back to the left.
Doesn't go, but you look at the difference of the difficulty of the shot that Brown takes at one end and Fletcher takes at the other. Here he is again, nice spin. Big ooh from the crowd, and great pass as Defoe lays it in.
Fletcher really pulling the strings out there. Tough to guard him, you have to all pay attention. As soon as you turn your head, he finds Defoe, who's had a good second half so far. Now he has 10 points.
Sullivan for 3. He hit those early ones, they've not been going since. Oh, another beautiful pass, but Sullivan's there to deny Thompson. Brown with a little quick change of pace to the basket for 2.
Nice move from Brown. He's giving him a little spark here off the bench.
A great play from Sullivan at the other end, not to foul Thompson, who looked like he had an open 2.
Martin from behind the arc. No offensive foul is called. Must have been an illegal screen on Thompson.
Wow, tough call there. Martin's had a couple of good looks from behind the arc.
Substitutions, Salter and Taylor back into the game for London and taking a break.
1:51 to go.
Will be Defoe.
And Newcastle looking pretty comfortable right now.
Okay, now 14-point game, 1:51 to go. Fletcher takes a seat. Need to give him a little bit of a rest. This could be a time where you pick up the tempo a little bit, maybe pressure him in the backcourt with no point guard on the floor.
Taylor around the string. Again, they double him, almost triple. Sullivan. Sullivan loses it. Lasker comes up with it. Thompson's ahead of him, gets it back to Thompson, and he will finish off on the break.
Points off turnovers, nobody better than the Eagles. Good pass from Lasker, and good run out from Stuart Thompson to extend the lead to 16.
Brown down to traveling violation called. He's down towards Stibbins, but he obviously walked with it.
That time, you see how all the bodies for the Eagles come into the paint on the drive. Not too concerned about anybody hitting threes from outside. Good defense from the Eagles.
Martin. Smith.
Jones in the paint for 2.
Nice job in the zone there. A cutter from the wing, wide open. Jones, good pass. And now up to 18.
Well, they haven't much needed him, Jones, but he's at least been able to get out on the court for them today after his injury problems. Taylor driving in, rebound Stibbins, got caught from behind by Jones. The basket will count, he'll go to the line for a bonus.
I'm surprised there, Taylor with the drive. He got to the right hand and got in there. Looked like it could have been a charge. Maybe he was in the restricted area, but Stibbins, good job on the backboards to clean it up and put it in for 2.
Third foul.
Well, there can't be too many games where Zaire Taylor has gone essentially 3 quarters without making a field goal.
We'll go to the line to shoot 1.
Stibbins converts the 3-point play. Still a 15-point gap for the Lions as they come with some full court pressure. Smith fakes the 3, takes the 2 at the elbow. It's the one guy you can't lose when you're pressuring up the court.
That was so smooth. You know, you run at him on the 3-point line, but his footwork is so good. Good rotation on the shot. Smith, 20 points for the Eagles.
Sullivan drives in, back out to Brown for 3, short. Who'd that touch last? Everybody's saying it wasn't me. The referee says it was Salter. So Newcastle getting back. The shot clock is switched off with 23.1 seconds remaining in this 3rd quarter.
17-point lead. Run it down all the way to the end. Put yourself in an incredible position as you go to the 4th quarter.
Well, they came into the 3rd quarter with a 10-point lead. They're going to go out with a bigger one than that. Martin bounces to Thompson, walked with it. He was gonna go up for the layup, then he realized he was behind the basket. So 2.1 seconds. Again, I'd throw it short, dribble.
Travel, good call there.
Zaire, I think he thought, I'll throw it, and then he remembered there's only 2.1 seconds. Now, interestingly, it went from 2.1 to 0.6, so they lost a second and a half on a traveling violation, which seems a lot.
And that's what Dave Forrester's talking about now over there on the sideline. He knows his numbers, Forrester. He was on that right away.
Lob to Martin, and he finishes it on the buzzer. What a great play by the Newcastle Eagles. They didn't need any more than 0.6 because they lobbed to the basket. They started the 3rd quarter with a 10-point lead. They end the 3rd with a 19-point lead, 74-55. Well, I mean, really, Rob, that last play says all you need to know about the Newcastle Eagles. They didn't have any time at all. They somehow found a way to score.
Great out of bounds play, great pass. But the travel from Taylor at that point, you know, that's the only thing you don't want there, is to turn it over in the backcourt and give him another opportunity. And a 19-point lead. 19-point lead, fourth quarter, we're at a chance for the clean sweep. And the Eagles, to be honest with you, Daniel, it hasn't even looked difficult for them after the first 5-6 minutes. It looks like it's a breeze. They're getting anything they want on offense, and their defensive plan has certainly worked.
Well, you said it right at the top of the show, Rob. Points off turnovers are going to be important in this game. Newcastle best in the league at it. London also can do quite well. That's 2 more points off a turnover. That takes Newcastle to 19. London have only got 6 the other way.
You know, again, it's not talked about enough when you talk about the Eagles. You talk about the high-scoring offense, but the points off turnovers that they get is unbelievable. They're so good at changing ends, and then they're so good at making the right decisions in transition, too. You know, you could have a fast team. You could have guys that can score, but you need to make the right pass, the right decisions, and they do that so well. Such a high IQ team, the Newcastle Eagles. Really look like they'd be a fun team to coach, I'll tell you that.
Well, and the other thing about it is the efficiency of that point off turnovers, because London have only turned it over 13 times. It's not a load. Here we go then, 10 minutes to go in the BBL Playoff Final 2015. 10 minutes separate Newcastle Eagles from a historic 3rd clean sweep of domestic honors. Taylor. Salter. Sullivan trying to get free. Can he do anything to inspire his team back into it? Moves it back to Brown. Eventually Brown takes the 3, doesn't go. Sullivan keeps it alive. Taylor, well, it's taken him to the 4th quarter, but he has his first field goal of the game.
Oh, it's a good offensive rebound. The team, they did a good job that time. But that possession, when they drove 5 guys for the Eagles, were in the paint.
Third quarter it was. By Scott Martin and the Eagles.
Smith again from behind the arc. Long rebound. Look at Lasker again. He didn't get it, but always going after it. Here's Taylor. Well, he scored 2 baskets in a row now.
I'll tell you what, we've seen him do some special things in his time in the BBL. He looks like he is ready to roll for this 4th quarter. If you're Newcastle, keep it out of his hands, because he is a guy that can get hot and get hot in a hurry.
Well, it's down to 15. Jones trying to free some space. His shot doesn't go. Great work from Thompson. He can't convert though. Salter with the rebound. Here's Taylor again. Does he attack? Yes, he does. Got a hold of his shot. Unsportsmanlike foul called against Drew Lasker.
Wow. Man, oh man.
He did have hold of his shirt.
Yeah, but I don't, come on, that happens. Yeah. Wow. In this type, oh, wow. That's 2 in the ball. That's a big call right there. I don't know if I've ever seen that call like that in the half court.
And in such a big game, with London getting a bit of momentum, if Zaire makes both of these and then they come up with the score, suddenly the Lions on the back of 8 in a row will feel right back into it.
But the Eagles put Fletcher back in the game, Defoe back in the game. This little mini run here has happened with Fletcher on the bench. But wow, I mean, I think that was a shocking call there, because, you know, he just went by him. Yeah, maybe he held his shirt, but it's a foul. It's a foul. Yeah.
And for those of you new to the game, the difference between the 2 is a normal foul is sideline possession, or 2 free throws if you're over the limit, which they aren't. And a sportsmanlike foul is 2 free throws and sideline possession.
Moves on to 9 points personal. And of course, the big part of that is London get the ball again.
So, in theory, the Lions could get it back to 10 here, although they haven't shot the 3-pointer very well recently. They might do now. No, Zaire Taylor. And that came off Salter last. That was one of those we were talking about, Taylor, and he's made a couple of shots, and then suddenly the 3 would go in, but not this time.
I expected him to make that one. When he's in that kind of rhythm, usually that goes down. Has struggled from behind the arc today. hasn't been able to get anything to go. Good hustle from Fletcher there. That looked like Salter was going to get the basketball, but Fletcher, just coming off the bench, forces the ball to come back to the Eagles with the 13-point lead.
0 of 5 from the three-point line, Zaire Taylor. Just a bit of perspiration on the floor where the bodies had crashed. That was being wiped up, and we get back underway here at the O2. 8.5 minutes to go. 8.5 minutes from the clean sweep for Newcastle Eagles, unless London can find something here. Finish the way they started. Smith under all sorts of pressure, and that's going to be called a jump ball. Smith's on the floor going, MVP, I should get a foul called there.
They like to run that play, the Eagles. Little flex cut that just frees up Smith. Had him isolated into one-on-one. A little bit of an up fake. Thought he would draw the foul. I thought it was a good non-call. Referees, I thought, have done a good job today letting these guys play.
Shot clock, got to get it up here. Defoe just gets it off in time, and it's good for 2.
And we want to talk about a guy who's improved throughout his time in the BBL, Darius Defoe, showing his game in many different ways.
Well, in the early parts of the season, I thought he was Newcastle's best player. I mean, there's an offensive foul called with a push-off for Zaire Taylor. I mean, it's a tough ask to try and pick who Newcastle's best player is. They've got so many guys who contribute in so many different ways, but certainly in the first couple of months of the season, Darius Defoe looked like that.
He's so valuable. Yeah, he's the quarterback of that defense back there too. Knows FAP system so well.
Fletcher. Here's Brown. Left Brown. Gets it to Stibbins. Stibbins! Yes, it rolls in for him.
Nice job from Brown. Exploding to the left hand. And Stibbins, good finisher around the basket, down to 13.
Fletcher. Martin thought about the 3. Sullivan challenged out. Here's Defoe again, backing down. Likes the turnaround, and that's why.
Defoe loves that matchup with Salter. He's had a great second half. He now has 14 points for the ball game, and that hand doesn't seem to be bothering him with those turnaround jump shots.
Well, it's that time of game where you start thinking about who might be in the running for MVP. It looked early doors like it could only be Charles Smith, but Fletcher and Defoe and Lasker, there's made some runs at it. Foul called.
You know, for me, you talk about unsportsmanlike. I know that's the professional European foul. I understand that concept, but I thought that was more of an intentional foul, an unsportsmanlike foul, than the foul called before. I mean, you know, you get credit for that as a guard a lot of times, giving away the foul. I'd actually like to see that one be the unsportsmanlike foul.
Here's Smith. Puts it on the floor to the runner, not quite. Oh, Brown couldn't pull it in, and there's Lasker again, and he draws the foul. Lasker with 9 rebounds in the game.
Interesting, we have not seen Lavelle Cook at all in the second half. You know, remember, I talked about it in the beginning of the game. Leading scorer on the season at 16 points per game, and no minutes in the second half of the playoff final.
Lasker drives through, and Taylor, oh, he landed hard there. Lasker, he's all right. He says, yeah, I'm all right. Taylor called for the foul.
Good hands from Taylor. I got over there. He's the leading steal guy in the league at 2.2. And here comes Cook now off the bench. You know, time maybe to get some firepower. They have 6. Oh, he's taking Taylor out.
Zaire is replaced by Lavelle Cook, and Lasker is back up. And he'll go to
Lasker then at the free throw line. He could yet get himself a double, well, I was about to say a double-double. He's 1 rebound short. He's 2 points short.
Lasker, 18 minutes a game this season, 7 points per game in 18 minutes.
And he makes the second one.
Second one is good.
And the Lions still going with the big lineup with Oyedije and Stibbins and Sullivan.
So 6.5 remaining. Lions fans still cheering for their team. Eagles fans still making noise for their team.
Brown driving down the lane, out to Sullivan. Flushed off the three-point line, drives to the runner. He's effective at that shot.
Good shot from Sullivan. He's had a good game today. That's 19 for Drew. They took away the 3. Good drive, pull-up jumper for 2.
Leading scorer for London.
Fletcher. Oh, they backed off Smith for a second. They totally lost Fletcher. He did make them pay, though. Brown out to Cook. Cook drives in. Oh, bodies all over the place. It's Lasker who's called for the foul. Everybody, I think, is okay and gets back to their feet. Timeout called here. 5:47 to go in the BBL Playoff Final. Newcastle still looking comfortable, but London within range. It's possible from here.
Well, here we go now. You know, this is the time where you have to throw everything at them. Maybe do something a little bit different. Pressure, spread the floor a little bit. Good timeout. I think the Eagles called that one. Good timeout from the Eagles. From their side of things, you tell them, listen, we got to take the opportunities that are given, but you don't want to be rushing anything, you know. The clock is their ally right now. A way for London to get back in the game is the quick shot, the quick turnover. So I think, you know, Coach Flanoy will tell them, you know, take your chances, but make sure that we're smart and we do everything we can to see out this lead.
It's one of those things, if you get a chance out on the break, take it, but if you don't, the clock runs some time. If you were Vince here in this timeout, what would your tactics be for the next minute? Now, let's face it, you're either going to win or lose it here in the next 2-3 minutes if you're London. What are you going to do?
I would definitely try to pick up full court a little bit, and I'd also try to put in a quicker lineup. I think the quicker lineup can get you back in the game. You know, again, I talked about it tonight. Their spacing has been poor. You know, you really need to open up the floor against this Eagle team. And it's interesting here as we approach the end of the fourth quarter, 5:47 to go. Zaire Taylor still on the bench with a 14-point deficit.
So 5:47 remaining in regulation.
Cook coming off the double screen. He's still had a tough shot. Deji trying to get there. He does get there, saves it back to Brown. Cook with the pull-up for 2.
That's his shot, Cook, that one dribble pull-up, and now it's down to 12.
Well, they're going to just stop the game to wipe up that where Deji slid along the floor. In the old days, that would have been a traveling violation. Certainly the Newcastle fans were signaling that behind their bench, but since they changed that rule interpretation, what was it, a couple of years ago, they let you slide along the floor like that if it's a natural motion diving after it.
Look at the scores right now to 12.
Fletcher, oh, great spin.
Wow.
Ooh.
And the foul is
There was just a little potential that there might have been some afters there as Fletcher and Oyedeji collided.
Well, that was a nice spin move by Fletcher. He has oohed and out the crowd today, and Oyedeji came down with a two-handed hard foul. It definitely was a hard foul. Fletcher didn't like that. Got up with a quick little push. Be careful there, Fletcher, at this stage of the game. You don't want to get called for a technical foul. And now they're talking, and Neil Wilkinson told them, enough's enough.
You like to see that from your point guard, though, don't you? Not backing down against the big fella.
Oh, yeah, you have to, and you see Fletcher. You know, the one thing about a guy that's that size, he's always been small, so he's learned to play at that size. And, you know, you find those guys are the ones that attack the basket, and Fletcher, another quality day, 18 points for him.
Cook, spinning. Gets it back. Cook under pressure. And there's going to be a foul there. I think he's going to get 2 free throws for that. Yes, he is. Darius Defoe picks up his second. Nobody in any foul trouble in this game at all.
And again, I think the referees have done a good job of letting the contact go. You know, in these type of games, you don't want everything being called, not the touch fouls or anything like that. So both teams have had an opportunity to play physical. And Oyedeji and Fletcher give a little hug right now. They're okay.
5 minutes to go, down 14. You can't give away the freebies.
74% from the foul line this year for Cook. We talked about him having to have a big game to put points on the board. Only 4 points. And that's the 5th.
In his defense, his minutes have been pretty limited. Hard to score from the bench.
This is where you want to take your time, get a good one.
Nice. It's just, oh, it doesn't go, but nice from Defoe.
Well, we talked about it. I talked about it earlier. He gets it anytime he wants. It's just a matter of him knocking it down. Big possession here for the Lions. Still time in this game.
Brown. High arcing shot doesn't go. Martin with the rebound.
Good rebound by Martin. You know, he hasn't had a tremendous scoring day, 10 points, but he's been everywhere. Solid player for the Eagles in the last 2 seasons.
Still time, but you don't see the momentum. London need to find some. Here's Smith from behind the arc. Cook with the rebound. Thrown forward to Stibbins. Foul! Basket is good. He'll go to the line for the bonus.
Nice job from Stibbins, leaking out up the floor for the layup. Bad foul from Smith there. You got to let him make that layup or foul him so he can't finish it. And Smith, he misses the long 3. Would have liked to see him miss a long 3 like that up in Glasgow.
Yeah.
A couple months ago.
Rob Paternoster and his Leicester Riders were about 2 minutes away from the BBL Trophy victory, and then Charles Smith just went berserk from the 3-point line to deny them. Well, the Lions fans still believing, still hoping. It's down to 10. Fletcher with the spin again. This time Brown stays in front of him. Fletcher trying to lose him, fires up with the shot clock. Oh my goodness!
They did not draw that one up. You don't have to sometimes when you have a playmaker like that. The spin and a huge 3 for Fletcher.
An unbelievable shot from Fletcher, who surely now must be in the front running for MVP with 18 points, 8 assists, and 21 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. Sullivan off the back of the ring. No need to rush here. Yeah. Although Lasker only has 1 speed, hyper speed. Defoe again. How many times has he done that today?
Talk about it. DJ refuses to go out there and guard him, and that guy with 16 has been knocking him down all second half.
Good hands from Martin to knock away the pass.
And you talk about running offenses, and what do you run? What kind of plays do you run? How do you move the ball? Well, you know what? Yeah, that's important. But it's also important to have guys at the end of the clock that make plays. And as you saw that time, Ramon Fletcher, yeah, that wasn't a good offensive set, wasn't good spacing or anything, but he was able to get the job done with the quality 3.
Cook. Good challenge from Martin, forces him out of the 3. Brown, shot clock down to 4. Cook fires up from behind the arc, doesn't go.
Good box out. Good box out, sorry, Daniel, from Defoe. He's done a good job of that today.
Well, he's a point away from a double-double now, Drew Lasker. He's got the 10 rebounds already. He has 9 points. Here comes the double-double for him. Oh, no, he's missed it. Jammed in by Darius Defoe. Timeout called off a huge play by Defoe. Flushed it down. And Vince McCauley, his last roll of the dice with 2:33 to go. His team in a 17-point hole.
Good drive from Lasker. He had the help come over, and Defoe, who's had a monstrous second half, throws it down. And Dave Forrester on the bench jumping around like a cheerleader over there. They can smell it right now. They're only, a few minutes away, 3 minutes away from having another historic season. And Darius Defoe, the veteran, has come up huge when they've needed him with the hand injury as well, but a big second half for him.
Well, I said it a few minutes ago, it's hard when you watch this Newcastle Eagles team to work out who their best player is. Let me just give you some numbers in this game. Charles Smith, 20 points, 7 rebounds. Darius Defoe, 18 points, 5 rebounds. Scott Martin, 10 points, 9 rebounds. Ramon Fletcher, 21 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Drew Lasker, 10 rebounds, 9 points. I mean, just any one of those guys you could say, well, this is like an MVP type display, but it's all of them.
But it's been like that all year for them, Daniel. You know, that's what's the toughest thing about playing them. What do you know, when you play them, you say, hey, we got to take away Charles Smith. Okay, you take away Charles Smith, then Martin hits you. We got to take away the inside from Defoe. Well, you take away Defoe, then Smith's going to bury you from the outside. The balance has been incredible on this team, and the thing about them is that they don't seem to care who gets the shots, who gets the points. That's what you all strive for when you coach a team. And this year, that's why they've been so special. They left their ego at the door. Unbelievable performance all season.
Sullivan inside, gets fouled by Martin, but we haven't seen him down there too often today.
Well, there's the lineup I talked about before now. You have Sullivan actually playing in the 5 spot with Cook, Ikunem, Brown, and Taylor out there. I think that lineup can give you a little more space, especially when you're trying to come back and you want to be quick with your points.
21 points for Drew Sullivan, make that 22. He has 5 assists, 4 rebounds to go with it. Well, they're in scramble mode defensively.
See, now you have to not turn it over, nothing quick, because with the time, it's a mathematical thing.
Nice pass inside.
Lasker with the putback, double-double for Drew Lasker.
Nice job by Lasker. A very good offensive rebounding guard all his career, and that time gets to go.
His 6th offensive rebound of this game. As Ikunem, they can't go basket for basket though, they need stops.
Whoa!
Fletcher with the spin at the half court, gets it to Smith. Smith underneath, and he scores.
Nice job from Fletcher. You want to talk about a guy who's got the oohs and ahs from the crowd today? He certainly has.
Taylor's shot doesn't go. Came off Martin last, and the Lions will keep it. But those threes have to go in. They need steals and threes. Steals and threes. Taylor. Sullivan for 3. Sullivan hits the 3 in the corner. Well, you can't doubt his effort. Nearly stolen away by Taylor. 5 3-pointers in 11 attempts for 25 points for Sullivan.
He's been the most effective player for the Lions by a long way today. But you expected that in the big game.
Lasker with the spin. Lasker to Smith. Smith! Another basket.
Now he starts on. Smith's going for the extra deuce there to get the MVP. He's got 24.
Sullivan drives into the finger roll. Well, they're going score for score as they did at the start of the game. And, well, you know, it's Newcastle think it's done now because it's not a timeout, it's a substitution. They've gone to the bench like it's a timeout, but it's a substitution. Eddie Matthew into the game for the first time, and Fab Flanoy wouldn't have done this if he didn't think the game was in the bag.
Well, he gives Lasker a chance to come off and get a good ovation. I think Lasker has been the X factor for them today. I thought in the first quarter they were a little slow to the ball. He came in, gave them that energy. And this is the great feeling right now in a final. You pretty much did the job, and now you can celebrate and get guys off the court. And that Eagle fan base up there, who's an incredible fan base, follows them up and down the country. And boy, have they been treated to a special group this season.
Well, Lasker with 11 points, 11 rebounds, 6 at the offensive end, sits down. The interesting thing is I'm pretty certain, I can't remember, but I'm pretty certain Fab Flanoy's won 23 medals in this league. This will be his 24th, his first where he's not actually played in the game. All the others, he's either been a player or a player coach, and obviously he's got that big boot on his foot. And you wonder, you know, he's, what is he, 41 years of age now? How hard it is to come back from an Achilles injury like that. I mean, you would never doubt Fab couldn't do it. If anybody could do it, Fab could do it. But you wonder whether it might be the end of Fab as a player coach.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, you know, the guy has so much drive that, you know, if somebody could come back, but it's interesting to see. I think it's a question that's going to have to be answered. Is he coming back as a player? Is he coming back as a player coach? Is he coming back as just a coach? That will be questions that, you know, will have to be answered in the summertime. But there's one thing we know is whatever he does, he knows how to win.
He's coming back as a winner,
yeah,
whichever way
no question about it. Unbelievable. And give a lot of credit to Dave Forrester over there. He's done a really good job for them. I mean, a lot of times you see him handling the substitutions. You know, he's a guy that was one of the biggest Eagles supporters going a few years ago, but now he's been able to stand out there in front and do a heck of a job. You know, we've talked all year about the Eagles and Fletcher here now at the foul line, going for, is that 23 or 24 he has? 23. 23 for Fletcher.
Taylor driving in, and it can win inside. We'll go to the line for the bonus. And then you look at a guy like Charles Smith. What is he, 39 now? And you sort of think, well, he's MVP. He was MVP of the trophy final. He's in the running for MVP of the playoff final. Surely he's only got another 4 or 5 years left in him the way he's playing.
I mean, a couple years ago he was done, right?
Yeah.
Man, he looked in it, and he's not even coming out of the game now. It's unbelievable. I had a word with him early in the season, and I said, what do you do, like, on your downtime? Do you just go show up at the park and play? Because he just plays and plays and plays and plays. It's unbelievable. And we talked about it before the game. He played 80 minutes out of a possible 80 in the two-legged aggregate against the Sharks, and I'm not sure how many minutes he sat out today.
I don't think he has.
I don't think he has.
Maybe he got a minute in the first half. I don't think he has.
Is he going?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. He's been 40 minutes again.
3 games in a row, 40 minutes?
It's amazing. London can't come up with a steal. You can see Zaïre's frustration.
28 points per game coming in the playoffs for Zaïre. Only 9 today. But give the Eagles credit on that. I thought they did a great job with the scouting report. And Zaïre, to be fair, made some plays for his teammates, but just wasn't able to be that scorer.
Defoe inside with the rebound, doesn't quite go. It's not loose. And London will have a chance here for one last score, perhaps. Cook fires up for 3, doesn't go. Roberts tips it up. Ball is loose. Fletcher comes down with it. They're going to have to shoot it because the shot clock is not switched off. The Newcastle Eagles are going to record the second highest ever score in a BBL playoff final with 96. They're going to win this one by 12. And it's been a fair reflection of the game. They've been double figures ahead all the way through.
Yeah, I thought they, after the first 5-6 minutes, I thought they dominated. It was great to see, and classy move there, not taking the last shot by Fletcher. But, you know, 4 trophies, an unbelievable season. They've won in many different ways.
Taylor fires up on the buzzer. It is done. The Newcastle Eagles have done it again. The most dominant team in the history of British basketball have won all 4 trophies for the 3rd time. Nobody has ever done that before. But nobody has been this Newcastle Eagles team. The last decade has been all about the men in black.
Well, you wondered, long season, coming into this game, had some injuries, but no way. They were not good. They would not be denied today. I thought it was an incredible performance. And hey, who's the MVP? Is it Fletcher? I thought he was great. Is it Smith? I thought he was great. Is it Defoe? What a second half. Be a tough call for whoever makes that call.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it just stands out, like in the trophy final when Smith goes ballistic in the last couple of minutes and wins the game. But sometimes you just get performances from up and down the roster. And look, I know it's going to be hard for London right now, but they can take credit from the way they performed in the postseason because they hadn't won 3 games in a row all year and then suddenly found their form at the end of the season.
No question about it. They had a good run at the end. You know, in the middle of the season, you would have never thought that they would be here today. So good run from them, but just not enough today.
Well, Charles Smith, as he often does, leading the dance of celebration for the Newcastle Eagles. And those fans behind that bench there, they would have set off very early from Newcastle to get down here today. But they've seen history. They've seen it again. Look at Fab in there jumping about with his boots on.
Be careful in there.
But it's a familiar scene in British basketball. Although, in fairness, the Newcastle Eagles, you can understand why they're celebrating this one, because they've been runner-up last couple of years in the playoff final. They got over the line here today, and it's always the sweetest one to win, because you end up winning that last game, you have the whole summer to enjoy.
Nothing better. We won it a couple years ago, and it was funny because we went to the airport together after Zaire Taylor and myself. We both had our championship jackets on, and we were talking about it. And all summer, you're on a high. But I'll tell you what, they deserve it. And these fans that have come down to support them, if you would drive a long way to see a team, this is the type of team you want to go see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really amazing team. Even in the history of Newcastle Eagles, who have had some great players, great teams over the years, but this one has done some pretty special things this year.
No question. Give the credit, a lot of credit to Paul Blake. They really do a good job of having the resources to go out and continue to build a team like this. It's not easy. You win, you have great seasons. You know, players want more. You know, it's hard to, but he's done a great job at allowing them to continue to come back, and they have done an incredible job to dominate with the 4 trophies.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes people look at it, oh yeah, Newcastle, they're always up there, they always win. 44-5, big deal, that's what they do every year. But actually, to do that every year, you cannot underestimate the difficulty how hard it is to do that.
It is, but when you have Smith and Flinoy and Defoe, those 3 guys, you know, that have done it so many times, so they understand what it takes to win on the road, to win late in the season, and you bring in the talent of Jones and Fletcher and, you know, Thompson back. Boy, you know, what a group that they'll remember this group for a long, long time.
Well, you mentioned Andy Thompson, of course. He's now won 11 consecutive titles in the BBL that he's been up to get. That's an amazing achievement. Word for Drew Sullivan, the Lions captain, as he goes up to receive his runners-up medal. Tremendous performance once again from him.
He never shies away from the big game. You know, this season has been a transition for him, playing in London, but by the end of the season, he had those guys playing great basketball, and today, in front of the home fans, I thought he played fantastic.
And Sharon Hodgson, who's the MP just recently elected the other day, is also the chair of the all-party parliamentary group for basketball there, handing out the medals. She also happens to be an MP for the Northeast area, so I'm sure she'll be pretty pleased with the result.
Well, you can tell local team. She has the black on today. You can tell that you know, she's proud of her Newcastle Eagles. But again, what a nice place to play basketball in here too today, Daniel. Give the BBL credit for having an event like this in the best arena in Britain, and the fans have come out in support. Nice atmosphere today. Maybe could have used a closer game, but all in all, great day for British basketball.
Well, they've changed it round in recent years, where they announced the MVP. Jessica Lowry from Moulton will present the MVP award, and well, we'll see. Normally, I know who it is who wins the MVP, but right now, what would your guess be?
Fletcher.
Fletcher, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, let's see. We'll see what. 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 23 points. It is Ramon Fletcher, but it was a tough shout, but what a tremendous player he's been. I mean, I know Charles Smith won MVP of the league. There'll be quite a few people who would have voted for this guy as an MVP of the league. He's such a tremendous cog in the machine that is Newcastle.
I asked Dave Forrester, when did you know how good these guys were? He said after 10 minutes of watching Fletcher in practice, he turned to Fab and he said, I think we got a potential MVP here, and how right he was. Because, yeah, he didn't win. I think he finished second in the race for MVP, but I think you talked to people around the league, and everyone had utmost respect for this guy, because not only did he do it all year, but even in the big games, he came up big. And when you have a floor general handling the ball like that, you have a special season for Fletcher and the Eagles.
Well, now is the moment that they came for, the moment they will savor, and they will get their medals as the Newcastle Eagles become the first team to sweep in British basketball for 3rd time. Jones goes up limited minutes down the stretch, but an important player during the season for them.
No doubt about it. I thought, you know, Jones, when he came in, remember, he didn't start the season with him. When he came in, he gave them that speed and athleticism that they needed. Him and Fletcher in the backcourt were dynamite all season.
Thompson, winner's medal as usual for him. Defoe now becomes the second in the list of most medals by any player in British basketball history, second on his own, behind Fab Flanoy. He's catching him up. And there's Lasker, tremendous performance, real live wire off the bench for them today, really helped them. Fletcher, the MVP, and Fab, as coach, is he going to go up? Is he going to go up? It's a bit of a challenge. Well, Dave Forrester,
go ahead, Dave.
And McLeod will go up. Fab hasn't gone up for his medal yet, unless Fab's going up for the gold, silver and gold basketball as a possibility, and he only wants to make the trip once. I would have thought Charles Smith will go do the lifting, but we'll see. Well, Lord Wasserman, who's the vice chair of the all-party parliamentary group, handing out the medals, and now he gets the trophy. It is such a beautiful trophy, and it is Charles Smith who will go up.
It's heavy. It's heavy, too,
It is heavy, yeah.
Very heavy.
And here comes Fab with him. They're going to do it together, are they? Smith and Flanoy. The reason Newcastle Eagles have been so successful for so long, and the ticker tape falls as Charles Smith holds it aloft. Fab Flanoy's going to ditch the crutches, because for the photos, he wants to be holding it aloft like that. And what a moment, what a guy. Fab Flanoy has been just an unbelievable, relentless winner in British basketball.
Well, and, you know, Smith and Flanoy been around a long time. Both of those guys have played with a lot of different players, but the one thing that's consistent is them winning big games and being in the big game. And today Fab couldn't play, but throughout the season before he got injured was still just as valuable for them. And then Smith, another great game, close to the MVP, I'm sure, and now bringing the whole group up there. And I think that's the way to do it, because all year they've been together, and all year they had that banner, "We have a nice team." The spelling isn't great on it, but we have a nice team, and I think that says a lot. This is a team, and they won today as a team.
And they're going to pose for the pictures that will be all over the papers and the websites in the northeast of the country, because there's no doubt about it, nobody up on Tyneside is more successful than this Newcastle Eagles team. All they do is win, as they so often say. I mean, you run out of superlatives for the Newcastle Eagles.
Great season, great group. Can they keep them together? I guess that's the question going into the summer.
But that is the question for the summer. The question for now is, where can we celebrate? Let's go out and have a good time and enjoy this victory. The Newcastle Eagles, well, they came into the season and people said, can they do it again? Can they get back on to the top of the British basketball pyramid? They won the cup in January in Birmingham. They won the trophy in Glasgow in March. And then they won the league on the last weekend of the season to just see off Rob's team. And now they are the playoff champions. Congratulations, Newcastle Eagles.